There's a peculiar transformation that unfolds when you finally release the need to control everything, not in a careless, abandon everything kind of way, but in a grounded detachment from the unseen forces that pull your strings. Here's the strange reality. Most of your stress, anxiety, and inner chaos doesn't stem from the events themselves, but from how deeply you care about controlling them. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. Maybe it's a party, a networking mixer, or even just a busy coffee shop. Suddenly, it feels like all eyes are on you. Your brain starts spinning. Are they judging your posture, your clothes, the way you hold your coffee? You feel like the protagonist in a psychological thriller. But then something clicks. You let go. Not with indifference, but with a peaceful acceptance. You simply exist. And the tension, it dissolves. Conversation flows easier. People are drawn to your energy. You stop contorting yourself into someone else's mold, and suddenly everything feels lighter. It's as if the universe had been waiting for you to stop getting in your own way. Why does this happen? Why does life seem to cooperate more when you loosen your grip? A big part of it comes down to attachment. The harder you hold on, the faster things slip away. It's like trying to keep sand in your fist. Squeeze too tight, and it escapes through your fingers. But if you keep your hand open, it rests there calmly. Think about it in real-life terms. That job you wanted so badly, you overanalyzed every step, stressed over every word, tried too hard, and nothing. But the moment you let go and moved on, you got a response out of the blue. Or that relationship you tried to fix. You pushed. You pleaded, and it just got worse. Then you pulled back, and the energy shifted on its own. This isn't mysticism, it's basic psychology. People, situations, and even opportunities mirror the energy you project. Desperation repels. Calm attracts. And here's the part most people overlook. Life is always giving back what you're putting out. When you stop micromanaging every conversation, stop second-guessing every decision, stop gripping the metaphorical steering wheel so tightly, things begin to align. And the kicker? Most of the stuff you stressed over never really mattered to begin with. It's funny how life works. The more you chase something, the more it runs from you. But the moment you stop running, it circles back as if it was never gone. Think of a time when you were trying so hard to impress someone. Maybe it was an interview, a first date, or just a high-stakes social setting. You prepped endlessly, rechecked your appearance, practiced your lines. And how did it go? Probably felt stiff, forced, unnatural. Now contrast that with a moment where you barely tried. You were calm, relaxed, not overthinking, and somehow everything clicked. That's the paradox. Trying too hard kills the vibe, and this applies far beyond social interaction. It's true in creativity, performance, even decision-making. Musicians often say their biggest hits came out of them in 10 effortless minutes. Artists describe their best work as something that flowed through them when they weren't trying to impress anyone. That's because life, like creativity, thrives in ease, not strain. Your brain works in two modes: focus and flow. Focus is where effort lives. It's the grind, the push, the control. Flow, though, is where the magic unfolds. It's what athletes call being in the zone, and writers describe as losing track of time. It's when you care just enough to be present, but not so much that you block your instincts. You've felt it. That state where things just work, and you're not even sure how. But here's the catch. You can't access that state if you're obsessed with outcomes. Overcaring is like static noise. It disrupts the signal. It's like trying to remember a word that's on the tip of your tongue. The harder you try, the further it retreats. But the second you let it go, there it is. So what's the lesson? It means most of your struggle isn't from life being hard. It's from you holding too tightly. Money? The more you chase it in panic, the more elusive it becomes. But when you shift from fear to confidence, doors open. Love, the more you demand it, the further it slips. But when you find joy in your own presence, others are drawn in. Even happiness follows this rule. You can't force yourself to feel happy. But when you stop chasing happiness and start embracing the now, it often appears without warning. Maybe the key isn't in trying harder, but in loosening the grip. Because when you stop treating life like a test with one right answer, you realize something profound. Most of what you wanted was never far away. We spend so much of our lives gripping tightly to the things we want, our careers, our reputations, our relationships, believing that control guarantees safety. But what if that grip is what's choking the very things we crave? Picture your hand holding sand again. Hold it gently, and it stays. Clench your fist, and it pours away. That's how life responds when we try to dominate instead of allow. Take relationships, for instance. Ever been on the receiving end of someone who tried too hard? Constant messages, endless validation-seeking, overwhelming energy? It's not attractive. It's exhausting. Now think of someone who didn't need anything from you. They were grounded, calm, present. That kind of energy, that's magnetic. It's not rooted in apathy, it's rooted in trust. Trust in self, trust in timing, trust in life. And this isn't just about relationships, it applies to everything. Career success. How many people burn out chasing money or accolades only to find emptiness? But the ones who find success often weren't chasing. It found them while they were doing what they loved. Investors who panic lose everything. The ones who stay calm through the storm, they win. Entrepreneurs who fail at their forced ideas stumble into brilliance when they follow flow. Artists create their best work when they stop worrying what others will think. What's the common thread? The harder you grip, the more resistance you create. But when you let go, the current carries you. Of course, letting go can feel terrifying. We've been taught that if we're not constantly steering, everything will crash. That if we stop worrying, we're irresponsible. But that's the lie. Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing from a place of trust, not fear. It means acting with intention, not desperation. It means aligning with life, not fighting it. And here's the wild realization. When you stop caring in the way society has conditioned you to, when you stop clenching onto every detail like your life depends on it, you don't lose control. You gain it, because instead of reacting from fear, you act from clarity. Instead of being tugged around by circumstances, you choose your direction. That's true power. There's a paradox most people miss. The second you stop being so attached to a specific outcome, the more likely it is to happen. It's counterintuitive, right? We're told that success requires obsession, hyper-focus, and micromanaging every step. But in truth, that intensity often blocks the very things we desire. When life flows, it's not because you forced it. It's because you allowed it. You weren't chasing, you weren't clinging, you were simply present. And somehow everything lined up. That's no coincidence. That's what happens when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. You start noticing doors that were always there. You just never looked. You become flexible, more open, more alive. The best athletes, performers, and creatives understand this. Their greatness isn't in perfection, it's in presence. They don't think their way through every move. They feel it, and the same applies to you. You can cultivate that presence too. You don't need to be a professional athlete or a famous artist to access this flow state. It's available in everyday life, in conversations, in work, in how you approach the smallest tasks. The secret isn't in trying harder, it's in allowing more. When you wake up each day, start by releasing the pressure to control every outcome. Instead, set your intention to move through the day with calm clarity. Ask yourself, how can I approach today with ease? How can I create space for good things to come to me rather than constantly chasing them down? you'll notice a shift. Instead of spiraling when plans fall through, you'll adapt. Instead of overanalyzing that awkward text, you'll give it space. Instead of pushing a conversation to go somewhere, you'll listen. That's where connection lives, not in control, but in presence. This shift is powerful in relationships too. When you're not clinging, needing, or demanding, people feel it. They relax around you. They're drawn to your confidence, not because you're loud or dominating, but because your energy says, "I'm good either way." That kind of energy creates room for authenticity. It allows people to show up as themselves without fear of judgment or pressure. It also gives you the freedom to walk away when something doesn't align, because your worth isn't dependent on someone else's approval. Now let's bring it to your goals. When you act from fear of missing out, of failing, of not being enough, you're constantly reacting. But when you trust yourself, trust your timing, and trust that life has a rhythm, you begin acting from clarity. This doesn't mean you stop being ambitious. It means your ambition is no longer frantic. It's rooted. You pursue what matters, but you're not shattered if it takes time. You understand that detachment doesn't weaken your drive. It strengthens your resilience. Ironically, the more you let go, the more magnetic you become. People sense when you're whole on your own. Opportunities open because you're not blocking them with tension. Life unfolds because you're not strangling it with control. This is what it means to live in flow. Not floating aimlessly, but swimming with the current instead of against it. Not avoiding effort, but putting your energy where it counts and releasing what you can't control. Try this for the rest of the week. When something feels heavy, ask yourself, am I holding too tightly? Am I trying to force something that needs space? Then loosen your grip. Let things breathe. Remind yourself, what's meant for me will never require frantic energy. And what isn't meant for me, no amount of stress will secure. Life rewards those who trust, those who walk with grace, not panic, those who act with purpose, not pressure. And once you start living this way, everything changes. You'll stop chasing. You'll start receiving. You'll stop fearing. You'll start creating. Not from force, but from flow. And as you continue living in this space, this rhythm of less tension, more trust, you begin to recognize how much noise you've been carrying that never truly belonged to you. The pressures, the expectations, the need to prove, to impress, to earn your worth, they all begin to fall away. Not because they stop existing, but because you stop subscribing to them. You begin to realize that inner peace is not something you stumble upon. It's something you cultivate by choosing not to fight every current, by knowing when to engage and when to release. This doesn't mean you're passive. Quite the opposite. It means you're precise. You no longer throw your energy at everything. You direct it with care. That's when you start to see transformation in every area of your life. Decisions become easier, not because life simplifies, but because your mind does. You stop second-guessing yourself and start trusting your gut. You recognize that clarity comes not from overthinking, but from stillness. In that stillness, the next right step always reveals itself. You also become more emotionally resilient. When people don't text back, when plans fall through, when uncertainty looms, you don't spiral. You observe. You adapt. You remain anchored. Because your peace is no longer dictated by external events. This shift is subtle but profound. It's not flashy. It's not performative. It's quiet strength. And people notice. They feel it. You become a calming presence in a chaotic world. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're no longer trying to control everything. You've made space for things to align. Even your creativity deepens. Without the pressure to create for approval or perfection, you begin creating from authenticity. Your work becomes richer, more meaningful, not because you're trying harder, but because you're allowing more of yourself to come through. And perhaps the most beautiful change of all, you start enjoying the journey. You're no longer living for a finish line. You're present, engaged, grateful. Because life isn't just about achieving, it's about experiencing. And when you stop gripping so hard, you actually start living. So here's the truth you can return to whenever things feel tight again. You don't have to chase peace. You don't have to earn ease. You don't have to beg life to love you. You just have to stop pushing it away. Let go a little. Breathe a little deeper. And trust that you already have what it takes to navigate whatever comes next.